Hello everyone, and welcome back to CM50, the video edition. In this video, we'll be expanding on Unit 4 of CM50, which covers numbers. Now, thankfully, Chinese numbers are actually very efficient and logical. In fact, if you can count to 10 in Chinese, then you have everything you need to count all the way up to 99. So let's first practice counting from 1 to 10. Please repeat after me. 一、二、三、四、五、六、七、八、九、十. And one more time for good measure. 一、二、三、四、五、六、七、八、九、十. So there you have it, numbers 1 through 10. Now, as mentioned earlier, if you can count to 10 in Chinese, you have everything you need to count to 99. Now, how is this possible? Well, because to go beyond 10, you don't need to learn any new numbers. This is in contrast to English, where once you get beyond 10, you are immediately introduced to a new number, 11. But what is 11? It's just 10 and 1. 十一, 十一. And this is how you say 11 in Chinese. No new numbers, just a combination of what we've already learned. 18 is 10, 8. 十八. 20, well, that's two tens. 二十, 二十. 70 is 7 tens. 七十, 七十. How about 65? 6 tens and a 5. 6, 10, 5. 六十五, 六十五. And we can do this all the way through to 99, which is 9 tens and a 9. 9, 10, 9. 九十九, 九十九. So as we can see, counting from 1 to 99 is very straightforward. But what if we want to count higher than 99? Well, in that case, we do need to introduce a new unit, by. This is the unit for 100. So 100 is 一百. 一百. 400, 四百. 四百. How about 410? Well, here we need to explicitly state that there is 110. So it will be 400, 110. 400, 四百, 110. 一十. So 410, 四百一十. 四百一十. How about 411? Well, that's 400, 110, and 1. 400, 四百, 110, 一十, and 1. 一. So 411 is 四百一十一. 四百一十一. So, as mentioned on CM50 page 8, to express any number, just put the numbers involved in order. As another example, 536 should be expressed as 500, 500, 30, 30, and 6, 6. So 536, 536. Also on page 8, it notes that the Chinese character for 0 is ling, and the rule is it's only pronounced when it's in between two digits other than 0. So let's go back to the number 400, 400, and bring in ling. So we see that there is a 0 between two digits. But the rule is it's only pronounced when it is in between two digits other than 0. So the digit on either side must be something other than a 0. And that's why in this case, where the rule has not been met, we don't pronounce the 0. Instead, we simply say 400. But what about 401? Now the 0 is in between two digits other than another 0, and therefore we must pronounce it. So what we have here is 400, 0, and 1. 401, 401. And that's how you say 401. How about 410? Well, the 0 is at the end, so we don't pronounce it. So what we have is 40110. 410. 410. So knowing these rules, we can now count all the way up to 999. Now to go beyond that, we need to bring in three more units. 千 is 1,000, 1 is 10,000, and 百万 is 1,000,000. So let's have a look at this number, 1091. So the first thing to note is that there's a 0 between two digits other than another 0. So the rule is we must pronounce it. And then it's just a case of saying what we see. So we have 1,000, 0, 9 tens, and a 1. 1091. 1091. So that's how we say 1091. How about 1001? Now here we have two zeros in a row between two digits other than a 0. So how do we handle this? Do we pronounce them both? Is it 1001? Well, let's refer back to page 8 of the CM50 textbook, where it noted that the character for 0 is ling. It's only pronounced when it's in between two digits other than 0. However, it goes on to say, if there are more than one zeros in a row, only the first is to be pronounced. So let's go back to 1001. According to the rule, we only pronounce the first 0. 1001. 1001. Now let's go even higher, using the number of the anointed Christians. Now here, it would be helpful to take a closer look at the difference in numbering systems between English and Chinese. So in English, the rule is large numbers are often grouped by 1,000. So how many thousands do we see in this number? 144. Hence why we say 144,000. On the other hand, in Chinese, large numbers are often grouped by 10,000. And as we learned, the unit for 10,000 is 1. So 1/10,000, or just 10,000, is 1. Now, in the number of anointed, how many 10,000s are there? Well, one trick is to simply count 4 digits from the right, and whatever remains is the amount of 10,000s in that number. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what remains is 14, which in Chinese is 14. So there are 14 10,000s, or 14万. And then we can easily deal with the remnant, no pun intended, which is 4,000, 4,000. So in Chinese, 144,000 is expressed like this: 14,4千,14,4千. Now let's take it up another notch. At the time of recording this video, the number of active Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide was 8,816,562. Now, the question is, how do we express this number in Chinese? Well, remember the rule. Large numbers are often grouped by 10,000, and the unit for 10,000 is 1. So how many 10,000s are in this number on the screen? Again, we count 4 digits from the right, and what remains is how many 10,000s there are in this number. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 881 10,000s in this number. 881 881万. Now what's the next unit below 10,000? Below 1? It is 千. And so after 881, how many thousands are there? There are 6. 6,000. And what's the next unit below 1,000? Below 千? It is, of course, 100. And working our way to the right, how many hundreds are there? 5. 500. 500. And what we have left we can handle in one go. 62. 62. So, at the time of this recording, the number of active Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide was 881,6562. 881,6562. Now you may have noticed that we haven't yet used by 1. So when would we use this? When referring to a round number. So 8 million would be 800,000. Now let's go from big numbers all the way back down to the number 2. So there are 2 words for the number 2. 2 and 2. Now when counting or numbering, we use 2. When indicating 2 of something, we use 2. Now let's take a look at that in more detail. So when counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we use 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. When numbering, first, second, third, fourth, in which case we use D. And for second, we use 2. 第一, 第二, 第三, 第四, first, second, third, fourth. Now, when we refer to 2 of something, in this case we use 2. So 2 apples, 2个苹果. In fact, let's use apples as an example for all of these cases. So if I want to count the number of apples, which word would I use for 2? 一, 二. So when counting, it's always 二, never 两. Now what about if I want to say 2 apples? In this case, we are saying there are 2 of something, and so we use 两个苹果. Now how about if I want to refer to the second apple? Now we are numbering. 第二个苹果, and so we use 二. Now let's change the setting. We're in a coffee shop and there are 4 people in the queue. So counting from front to back, which number do I use for 2? 二, because we're counting. 一, 二, 三, 四. Now let's say 2 people leave. So, two people. When we want to say two of something, do we use 二 or 两? Always 两. 两个人, never 二个人. Now there are two people left, and again this is 两个人. Now if I want to refer to the first person, this would be 第一个人. But what if I want to refer to the second person? Is this 二 or 两? 第二个人. So we use 二 when we want to say the second of something. It's always 第二 and never 第两. So let's review these rules one more time. When counting, we use 二 一二三四 never 一两三四. When numbering, we use 二 第一第二第三第四 never 第一第两第三第四. And when we want to say two of something, we use 两两个人. So never 二个人. Now just to finish off with some numbers. 20 is 20. 200 is 200. 2000, 2000. 20,000, which really is two 10,000s, 2万. So this was a video on Chinese numbers. Now there was a lot to take in, so just go back and review any points that you need to. And remember that down below in the description for the video, you will find a list of chapters which makes it easier to jump to a specific grammar point. So that's it for this video. More to come in the following units. See you next time.